So we've discussed what is safe in terms of vibration exposure, and I've said that more than 1G for 10 minutes per day is getting into an unsafe zone, and certainly that's where many commercial vibration plates operate. So my justification for that is a document called International Standards Organization 2631-1, which is a standards document that defines safety levels, vibration exposure safety levels, mostly in the workplace. And that guideline has been adopted by many countries and turned into law for occupational health and safety. So, you might use that to determine how much time someone can spend using a jackhammer before it's going to actually injure them or hurt them, have some sort of long-term detrimental effect. So one of the arguments that people have who manufacture and use vibration from a therapeutic point of view for health benefit is that ISO 2631-1, the standard, assumes that all vibration is bad, and yet we know that in the right dose it can be tremendously beneficial for health. But that nonetheless, in the absence of any other universally accepted standard for vibration exposure, it is still the document that we need to use, and the levels within that document are things that we should stick to as vibration device manufacturers and as therapists using vibration for treatment. In terms of how that is measured, how vibration is measured and exposure is measured, is a fairly complex model that ISO 2631 uses, and we won't go into that now in detail, but it's based on energy. So simply put, twice the vibration force is equivalent to twice the time. So if you're using it on a stronger setting, you've got to do it for less time. And there's several graphs and diagrams, but it goes on for there's a whole chapter dedicated to that, so we won't go into the detail of it here. But just as a guideline, anything more than 1G, which is really that's gravitational force, so that's the equivalent force that the Earth pulls you down at, for more than 10 minutes per day, is regarded as getting into an unsafe zone. So, many of the vibration plates which tout 4 or 5 or 6 Gs or even more are very clearly in a zone that's not regarded as safe from an occupational health and safety point of view. And while it's possible that they aren't necessarily harmful, it's certainly a risky area and one that we prefer to avoid. So the level of exposure that is low enough what you want to look at is a level of exposure that's going to give you the health benefit but not be harmful at all. And many of the cheaper machines fall into that category just because they're very weak. They're not dangerous at all, but they're also very ineffective. And this is the issue, that to have the force necessary to really deliver good health benefits, you also need to manage the exposure of that force so that it doesn't cause any harm. So you've got to have some sophistication in the way that raw power is dispensed, that you don't actually hurt someone, but you're still giving them the health benefits. And this is something that Theravibe does very effectively. Just by way of example, the position of the plate, the measurement of the position of that plate uses about 8 different health check parameters, and does that more than 1,000 times per second. So if anything goes wrong, it can revert to a very safe mode as opposed to going out of control and potentially hurting someone. And there's really no cheap way of doing this. And so your question about cost comes back to this. If you want to have that kind of sophistication and safety, then there's some complexity. There's a cost overhead associated with that.